as a privacy advocate, I would suggest Chromium over Chrome anytime. But making sure you're downloading it from like a google.com property is, I can create a virus version of Chromium and put it on chrisconstable.com, and you may have downloaded from a Russian site pretending, like google.com.hk or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
So Flash was kind of, thank goodness, Mozilla officially killed it last year, so Flash is dead, but JavaScript still exists. JavaScript is going to be the biggest attack vector, I think. It usually is anyways, but with this new exploit when it comes out, it will probably be from JavaScript on websites, which means if you go to a malicious website that has JavaScript in it, it will run in your browser and then do bad things. So by default, you want to have JavaScript and Flash turned off on every website you go to. So these are kind of 3 tools you should write down for your browser. If you don't have it, they're all plugins. One's called NoScripts. Another one's called AdBlock Plus. It does similar-ish things to uBlock Origin. I use uBlock Origin. And then another one from the EFF is called Privacy Badger. Privacy Badger doesn't really help with these exploits, but what it does is it blocks third-party privacy trackers, so it's a great plugin to have. Do note, whenever you install any plugin in your browser, you're giving that plugin access to every website you go on. That's just something that's kind of worth knowing, I think. But by default, NoScripts is kind of annoying to use. What it means is when you go to any website that's functional, it probably won't work right. And that's a good thing because you have to now choose. The responsibility is on you to say it's Facebook, well, I know I trust Facebook, so I'll enable JavaScript on Gmail or Facebook or whatever your regular websites are. But the onus is now going to be on you. But don't let JavaScript run on, if you're going to inappropriate sites of any kind.
Or you could just not go to the inappropriate site.
Yeah, I mean, that's, well, I say inappropriate, not kind of. I think, the fact that we trust any given website, it's like, why do you trust Facebook that some developer hasn't put something in? For example, there was a thing called WebRTC that was enabled on New York Times last year or the year before, so you just never know. Trusting sites is an interesting problem. This is just a personal pet peeve. Mac, when OS X came out, they had a really good marketing campaign saying, forget antivirus and all the security woes of Windows, come on over and use us, we're secure out of the box, which has actually just never been true. It just has always had a smaller attack surface. There were fewer Mac users, but there's more and more Mac OS X users, and they still feel to this day that they don't need an antivirus, which isn't true. So everybody here, no matter what you're using, make sure you have the latest antivirus installed on your computer, and you're using it properly. So every day, hundreds of new viruses are released, and there's antivirus teams who figure out what the signature, what that virus looks like, and they release what's called a definition. So you'll often notice if you use antivirus, your computer's downloading a list of new definitions every day. That's actually just useless at that stage because it just means that your antivirus software knows about all the latest viruses, but you now have to do what's called a scan. You have to scan your entire computer with that new list, like usually overnight while you're sleeping, and that's what's going to compare all of the files on your computer with the latest definitions. So again, don't just let your antivirus sit there with downloaded definitions. Make sure you're running regular scans because that's when a virus is going to get detected. And this is the biggest kind of practice I recommend to everybody. I challenge everyone to try this year. I help a lot of large organizations, and I've never had one that when stuff hit the fan that they needed to restore from backups, the backups worked. So not one, I've never had that happen. And so as a result, just imagine at some point in this year that you come in and your laptop has been stolen or your server has been stolen. What does that exercise look like? So try practicing a restore of your backups and see, same with your phone even. If your phone's stolen, what pictures would you lose? What access would you lose out on? So that's if there's one takeaway that I would love everybody to come back next year and say, hey, we practiced our restore, things didn't work, and we fixed our process, so that when stuff does go wrong, you've got a plan in place. I blog about all of these things on Private Sec Tech, so you can either follow it on Facebook if you want, and I also have a blog. If you have any questions there, please throw them at me, and I will answer on the blog or on the Facebook, no problem. I do this mostly to help people, so I don't really make anything from doing that. This is my email address and my Twitter handle if you have any questions.
Fabulous. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll definitely distribute those slides because there's lots of links and details in there. So now we're going to basically do, a 5-minute break where we reset our brain. And this is where I get to basically give Lena a couple minutes to prep up some of the videos because she's got the most multimedia presentation. So while she's attacking that, why don't you guys share? What is your big new technology trend project you're working on this year? Who's got something sexy and new they really want to wrap their heads around this year? Who's feeling brave? Wants to, like, spill the beans? All right, and there in the back, and intro with your name, and then tell us what you're up to.
It's not me, but a friend that runs Vote.org. They're a big technology breakthrough for the last two elections. The ones that they worked on was Alabama and Virginia, was billboards. They text. They have a huge digital and technology outreach, everything, and they dumped a ton of money into billboards and saw a huge lift in voter turnout tested across.
Old school.
Yeah. Yeah, go for it.
I would actually add to the trend. We currently saw a big trend in crowdfunding. So a lot of our nonprofits, and we have big, huge, like Cream Queens or Dave Suzuki or Boy Scout and all those and all the small ones. We saw the big shift from just donors are giving to nonprofits just because they like it to crowdfunding. They like when there is a specific cause. It's not just I donate to cancer society just because, but I like to donate to specific African farmer to buy that specific goat, for example, or to have that connection between the donor and the nonprofit. So nonprofits have to use technology to let donors know this is what we do with the money. This is exactly how it's going to be used. And this is a big technology and big motivational change for all the nonprofits where you've seen all of us both.
Hey, Jody, you do a lot of really interesting community work. Tell me, like, what is the big, sexy thing you're working on this coming year? Tell us.
I don't have it wrapped up in
All right. Well, let me put my, okay, go for it.
Hi, I'm Jen. I work with Digital Democracy out of California and actually internationally, and our team is working on peer-to-peer GIS tools. So that's tools for folks who don't have access to internet to be able to still do database sharing and have autonomous ownership over the data sets that they're creating. So specifically for indigenous communities in the Amazon, or we're reaching out to other communities elsewhere who don't have this.
In 2011, the population of Lebanon was 4.4.
DigitalDemocracy.org.
Okay. That sounds cool. So I'll put myself on the spot then as we get really close to getting started. So I did the thing that I tell everyone else to do in the last couple of months, which is to actually create a little sales funnel for the volunteers I work with. And and basically define out like what's each step up that in the relationship, and like what is the thing that move people from each stage. So someone goes from the application form, well then what happens? And not just like loosey-goosey what happens, but like what are the concrete 3 steps that happen? What are the 3 emails that come from there? And so basically once I actually started putting that structure in there, wouldn't you believe it, but my actual rate of people going from filling out a form to actually becoming a full volunteer basically doubled in that year because I put some structure on it. So my next step for this year is to say, what can I automate within that process? Because some of those emails are the same to everyone and I don't need to come and manually trigger those myself. So basically my project is to say, how can I start exploring automation as I use it to basically deepen the relationship and move people through their engagement funnel.
Yay, Eli.
It's going to be fun. So, what do you think? Lena, are we ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. So, with a million tabs like a conductor, we've got Lena Minifee, who's going to talk a little bit about virtual reality and how nonprofit organizations have been playing with this. I'm going to get out of the way because, honestly, I don't understand. I want to learn a whole lot today.
Thank you, Eli.
And sorry, if you just want to take the mic for the people in the back.
Yes, I'm going to take.
You might have to
take
flip
the mic.
the switch up.
Hello.
Love
there
it.
we go. Hi, everybody. My name is Lena Minifee. I am a freelance digital consultant, as well as comms director for an amazing art gallery called Grunt Gallery, if you guys know about that. I'm also on the board for Web of Change. If you guys have heard about this digital conference that we do sometimes in Vancouver, but it's international now. I'm going to talk to you a bit today about VR. So I'm Tsimshian, and that's a tribe from up north, near Prince Rupert, and everyone knows Haida Gwaii, and also British. My interest in immersive sort of experiences began as I grew up as a dancer, actually. So I was a hip-hop, breakdancing B-girl up in North Small, Kitimat, rural. And I really started to get into film and video when I moved to Vancouver in 2001 and went to film school. And I always think of immersive experiences as really full-body experiences that can really change our view and perspective of things, and potentially can change our view about each other and the world. So I'm putting a lot of hype onto 360 and what it may or may not be able to do for us. But I have some good examples and some examples that are just more funny than good. So that being said, I'm going to go to the PowerPoint now. So
The button right above you.
yes, I'm trying to go view. And I'm trying to go back. Okay. So I went to school at Santa Fe. Does anybody know where Santa Fe, New Mexico is? I went to school actually to an indigenous tribal college after film school. I decided to go there because of the amazing facilities that are better than any of our Canadian art institutes, but it's called the Institute of American Indian Arts, and it's been there for a long time teaching indigenous arts, except for now it has a 360 full dome that you can use. It has a room that's for 3D printing that can print the size of a car vehicle. It has a foundry, a metal foundry that can build up to 2 to 3 stories of metal sculptures now. So we'll never find these kind of facilities in Canada, unfortunately, but I found them in Santa Fe. And Santa Fe is one of the most amazing places for tech, and they have an interactive conference every year for interactive art specifically. So when I took 360 Dome courses, basically 360 and VR are the same thing. You just like take your 360 video, you put it in glasses, voila, you're in another world. So I don't have those glasses here, but the cost of this stuff has come down a lot since I was even in school 5 years ago. Those cameras would cost up to $10,000 for a 360 camera. This is $200 bucks. So I think this is why it's coming up in 2018, why people are more using these kind of things. I was also a journalist for CBC and APTN as well as CTV at one point in my life. And I think it's kind of counteracting sort of like these ideas of fake news with a 360 camera that you're just setting up when you're in an environment and a geography and somebody goes in with you. You can't really edit or fake things in a 360 way. The editing is quite intense. So I feel like this can actually bring an answer to fake news, and that we can give experiences to people where they can see for themselves, and it's not sort of editorialized. So I'm going to show a piece that happened here in Canada, actually. I just want to talk about what virtual reality is used for now. In 2017, hopefully what virtual reality is going to be used for this year. So Impossible to Contain is up here. Oops. And it's on an ad right now. Here we go.
This is a tragedy that people have warned about for a long time.
Prince Rupert traffic, Nathan East Stewart, good morning. We have room at ground here. We had a complete valve failure in the engine room of our one starboard tank, and as a result, our bilge is filling with fuel. We also had another breach on the starboard side bulkhead, where we're taking on more water. Levels in the engine room are coming up to the generator there.
As you can tell, the 360 is not working on this right
too long here. We're going to lose power.
I'm running out of time, so.
I was born a few miles from here in Bella Bella.
So Zoe Hopkins is a filmmaker. She's Celtic.
This is
She's from
far
Bella
from the big
Bella.
city, 600 kilometers
actually
from
asked her to write
Vancouver,
an article when
a
the
whole
spill
day by
happened,
ferry.
and actually she got
It's
money
remote.
to go back and do a 360
This is
journalism piece
Hits
for
of
CBC
territory.
about the oil spill and how it
Our
affected the
families,
tribe and
our
the First Nations
songs,
there.
and our culture.
So essentially the oil spill had affected their food collecting resources still to this day. Things aren't clean right now. So I feel like this is an engaging way to kind of show people, especially in remote areas, where the land and people are so connected to the land and the space, and that the geography actually affects their everyday, to be able to kind of translate this story to people who are somewhere else in the world. Oops, that's not mine. This is really fun. Somebody should drive for me today.
All right, on it. Tell me where you need me to be.
I'm going to go to Standing Rock next.
Got it.
Okay. Sorry, it's hard to do this at the same time. So I happened to be at Standing Rock. I was living in Minnesota working for a digital agency, and I got to go up to Standing Rock a few times, and I did numerous reporting. I just used my cell phone because everything out there was really hard to get in, especially passing through like a National Armed Guard checkpoint. It was really insane. But this piece came out from Standing Rock from the New York Times that I really think is important, because to really experience it, you kind of have to be there. Like, what is it like living there? What is it like every day? And this VR piece from New York Times came out. The cameras were a little bit low grade as far as like low res, but it shows kind of like the day in the life of what it was like out there, just to be just like working really hard for your food, making sure that you're warm, doing fires, having meetings, doing ceremony. It was a space that you couldn't really tap out of. You had to be an active participant or not be there at all. So. Yeah, thanks.
Way back, Sitting Bull time, there's a prophecy told that the black snake will be coming. So everybody was aware of it, and they didn't know
Down
what.
a little bit.
Sure.
We have like 3 minutes left.
For this, it's my children's, and it's a way of life that I've always lived, and I think they have a chance. They should have the same opportunities as I do.
What really turned Standing Rock around was that Myron Judy and a bunch of people that I actually knew before Standing Rock had actually brought in drones and were taking footage, even though those drones are being shot down regularly by cops and the army, and phone data was being taken up, and there was helicopters and like army tanks. People had brought in technology in order to document this. Without that documentation, people wouldn't have actually believed that this happened. So the VR to me is a real experience again that you can't really deny that experience when you're seeing fully the effects of oppression and racism and colonialism and in practice. Can I go to? I'm going to show you a funny one to end with, I guess.
Sure.
U-turn.
Yep, got it.
Yes. So U-turn. I might have time for one more if you guys want, but U-turn is kind of this funny one. If you want to talk to your staff about microaggressions and basically gender bias in the workplace, they decided to put together a whole VR component to give you a perspective about what it's like to be a woman, to hear gender bias things, misogynist things, sexist things in the workplace. So if you want to play that.
Do you think it could be a SQL injection attack?
This is mission critical. All of our jobs are on the line.
It could take us hours, days, even to get the site back up online.
we'll get our site back up and running. This whole new venture is going to go down faster than a bitch in heat at the dog park.
Good for her. I'm sure she's happy being a stay-at-home mom. It's a lot less stress.
Hey, people might actually have to start talking to each other again.
So basically, you can see from a male perspective, but if you shift your head left,
Looks
you
like
can
our
see
backup
from a
ideas
female
are
perspective.
Speak with him, please.
Damn, dude. Tinder's down too. How's my date gonna find me? Hey, somebody get...
So it's a little bit ridiculous, but I think that if you can sell your HR and kind of doing VR to help your staff, you must have a lot of money. And I think there's just one more I wanted to show from, is there a time? I guess we're over time.
You have 1 minute.
Can we do one more? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is a community announcement. That's where I'm from. You guys can pull up. Where is the... Looking ahead, I said. I think the site is open actually, but I just have to scroll down. So this is just recently released. Basically, they actually have physical goggles. You know those viewfinders that you go to tourists and you kind of put your coins in? They've set up a few of these viewers in California to kind of look like what happens when climate change it really affects the future. And so they have these basically 3D goggles that you can see on these metal glasses, where you can go in and see, like, take your eyes off and see, like, oh, this is what the landscape looks like. Oh, this is what it looks like underwater. I think this is the most interesting one. It was just released last week. Okay.
Maybe I figured it out. Maybe everything is too complicated for me.
So this is kind of the before and after what you see, looking into the goggles. I think it's actually a really effective way. I think we should probably do this in Richmond and Delta, as far as anybody wants to pick up a project. Because climate and water rising is really going to affect a lot of us, and we all are working on some environmental campaigns, I'm sure. And yeah, so look ahead. That was done and launched maybe like last Wednesday or Thursday, so it happened to be good timing for today. So you can get yourself, I said, like a little camera for $200. And I'm starting to use it for my gallery to document installations. And do you have any questions?
Will you be able to join us for the post-event social?
Yes, I'll come
Well,
for the
this
social.
is giving me a perfect opportunity to go a little deeper. Well then, thank you so much. Perfect. Now, we're going to bring in one of my co-organizers, Ashley Turner, who's going to talk a little bit about social dark posts. Another thing I'm confounded about, so when she proposed it, I'm like, yes, you should come teach me more, because I don't know.
I don't really think that's the way the story went.
I think that's exactly how it went. That's the story I'm in charge.
Okay. Do you have a clicker or do I just have to press?
I'm afraid we're not that sophisticated.
Cool. Okay. So as you can see, I pretty much made this the most bright. Can you hear me back there? Or don't you want me to speak?
Mike, please.
Better? Okay. I made it the most bright, sunny, fun presentation I could because all day long people have been like, ooh, dark posts, ooh, dark social. And it's really not that scary, so let's get into it. I'm Ashley, and I'm the communications director for Options for Sexual Health, and yes, that is actually my Twitter handle, Sex with Ashley, so if you need to find me, you can find me there. I'm going to put this here because I've got a couple of notes that... No, I'm not a bot. I'm really nice. Okay, so a little bit about what we want to cover today. Dark social, what it is, what we need to know about it, what we can do to utilize this knowledge, and some tools and tips. Dark posts, what are they? What do we need to know about them? and how can we use this power for awesome, and who can benefit from this. Also, full disclaimer, I'm not the expert on this. I'm just somebody who looked at what was available online and found out some information. Really, my goal from today is to have you leave here knowing what these mean so that you can either take this and run with it and do what you need to do with it yourself, or you can find someone a whole lot smarter than me who can help you utilize these tools. So this is the real story. We were sitting in our organizers meeting, and we were talking about dark posts, and I was like, I totally know what that means. It's this and this and this. No, I was really wrong. I was actually talking about dark social. So they're two very different things that sound a lot the same, and people get them mixed up. So I thought, I'm probably not the only confused person. I'm going to help other folks distinguish between the two. Okay, so let's start here with dark social. Whoops, sorry. I really need a podium, Eli.
Next year.
Yeah. So it's not as evil as it sounds. This is essentially what dark social is. It's the portion of referral traffic that lacks information to trace back to its source. Sounds pretty simple, right? So here's a quote. I scoured the web and found a bunch of different quotes and a bunch of different information and read basically the same thing everywhere I looked. But essentially, it's something that passes through the platforms and doesn't actually get the same referral rate as something else. So I'm going to use a little example, because who doesn't love kittens, right? So this is basically what happens. You're sitting at work, and we all do this. You see a post, which is an article or a link or a blog, and because you're at work, you don't want to post it on Facebook or on Twitter or on social media anywhere. So instead, you find your friend who has a kitten, and you're like, I'm going to share this with my friend who has a kitten. And you send them a direct message, or you send them a Slack message, or you send them a WhatsApp message. And friend reads the article, friend emotes, friend laughs, finds it funny, and basically there's no trace of it. Yes. Okay, there's no trace of it. Boom, that's dark social. So why is it that you want to pay attention to this? Why is this interesting to us? 84% of all links are now going dark social. So basically when people are sharing things, they're sharing it 84% of the time through dark social, through direct messages, so things like WhatsApp, Slack, etc. They're not posting it, they're not sharing it. Now,
how do we know this?
How do we know this? Again, I'm not the expert. So basically, I looked at a lot of the research that was out there, and people who are, again, much smarter than me were looking at how links are being traced, how they're tracking, and there are ways that you can actually track dark social, so I'm guessing it's an estimate as well as some of this research. One of the interesting stats was that there's actually a huge increase in this. So it went from, in 2014, about 69%, to now in 2017, 2018 now, 84%. So I'm guessing, like I said, there's people smarter than me that are sharing it. Yeah. Does that kind of answer that?
Yes.
Okay. When in doubt, lean on me when there's people smarter than me. Okay, so what can we do about this? So I'm not going to go through the steps of how to do this because we only have 10 minutes, and this is actually a much, much more in-depth piece around Google Analytics. So I'm going to let you do that work for yourself, and you can find it quite easily online. There's step-by-step guides on how you can track and how you can trace them. You can be strategic. Sorry, let me flip to my notes. Does this make sense so far? Does everybody kind of get the idea of what dark social means? So how many of you use dark social? How many of you today sent a link to somebody and didn't do it publicly? Right, I work in sexual health, and for me as a nonprofit person, this is a huge impact. If I post something around birth control and somebody sees it and says, ooh, birth control, this is a really good information piece, I'm not posting it on my Facebook. I'm gonna send it to my friend who uses that kind of birth control and say, here, you should read this. And then there's no tracking. So when we're looking at our Google Analytics, we're seeing less than 15%, 16% of what's actually happening on our website. Okay, so this is where I got confused and had to ask for some help because this is a text-speak language that I actually don't talk. But basically there's a way that we can do this through UTMs. Does anybody here know what a UTM is? All right, so if you need to know what a UTM is, find those smart people like Eli who can help you figure it out. The short version is that you can create a trackable link with a little bit of code in it so that you can follow it and use your analytics to help you see what's actually happening. There's also a bunch of tracking tools. Again, you can Google this. It's very simple to find. There's ones like Post, so that's po.st, Share This, and GetSocial.io. Using a multi-pronged approach will also really help you to track those links. Locally, Hootsuite has a really great article that talks about why you want to be using dark social, and you can actually use the Owly links to help you track your posts and your links. So the takeaways from dark social: it allows people to send URLs without referrals or traceable steps. This can yield deceiving analytics. Just a show of hands, how many people use your analytics in grant applications or reports or your annual reports, etc.? So imagine if you could show 84% more of what you're doing and the impact it's having, how much that would change your grant applications or your funding structure. Okay, so dark posts, which is what I was originally supposed to talk about. Has anybody here heard of a dark post before? What dark posts are? Chris has, I know Chris has. So basically, it's not scary, it's not evil. Some people have tried to make it sound really evil, but it's basically a way that people can share ads or content without having it in their newsfeed, which allows us to be a lot more targeted. I think Darren left, but what Darren was talking about with the targeting around advertising. So again, how many people are on Facebook today? So of those people who showed their hand, I'm going to guess that every single one of you experienced a dark post at some point. I was looking on my own Facebook, and within 3 scrolls down the page or less, this came up. So basically, anytime you see in the top corner something that says sponsored, or anytime you see something with a call to action like shop now, learn, etc., you're most likely looking at a dark post. So the nice thing about...
I was just going to say, I don't know if that's necessarily true for Facebook boosted posts, because
there's a difference. Yeah, there is a difference. So, and I'll talk about that just in a second. But basically, Facebook has added some transparency over the past few months, which now allows people to see when dark posts are being made, or it's to see which ads and pages running. So for some people, they thought this would be the end of dark posts because the transparency comes into place, but it actually hasn't decreased it at all so far. Okay, so the difference between a boosted post and an unpublished post is that when you're doing a Facebook post and you have something that comes up and maybe it's doing really well, and Facebook's going to suggest to you, hey, do you actually want to boost this post? Do you want to share this with a broader audience? That's different because it's already been published on your page. It's already in your news feed. With an unpublished post or a dark post, basically what's happening is it's not showing up in your news feed, which means that your users aren't being inundated constantly. The people who are already your fans, already your followers, aren't getting the blast of these advertisements, so you can actually use much more targeted posts. Again, it's really easy. You just need to go into Facebook, and Facebook actually tells you exactly how to do it. So here's an example. How do I use dark posts? People who love kittens, people who live in urban centers, and people between 19 and 35. There you go. They can target and you can track. You can use A/B testing, etc. So it makes it a lot easier to get your new audience, get people to do your call to action that you want them to do, like donate, etc. Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter all have dark posts that you can do, and any paid advertising on Instagram or Snapchat are already dark posts, so you don't have to do anything special. Takeaways? Facebook has a step-by-step tutorial, so you can figure this out yourself, or you can get somebody really smart to do it for you. It can be really useful for A/B testing of ads. And like I said, even though there's transparency now, it doesn't seem to be decreasing the usability of dark posts. Okay, so I'm just going to go really quickly through this because Eli's giving me the 1-minute warning. So there's a few things: dark social, dark posts we've talked about, A/B testing. Darren thankfully talked a little bit about targeted advertising. Creating URLs or UTMs that help you track what you're doing so that they don't get lost in that dark social. Transparency, as I mentioned, and evolving. So typically, nonprofits do tend to be a little bit delayed when it comes to any new technology or social media. I think that's starting to change. Look at the room full of people here. But I think that it's also still something that we're learning about. So this is something that bigger advertising companies, universities, and real estate agents and for-profit companies have been using for a long time. And we're now just starting to catch up. So I hope that that helps answer some questions about dark posts and dark social and what the differences between the two of them and how you can use them for your nonprofit.
Fabulous, thank you so much. And for our final session of the day, we're going to bring Chris back. And you've all heard of Bitcoin, but there's actually this crazy ledger thing behind it, which again, I don't understand, but Chris does. It's called blockchain. And there is actually some interesting nonprofit use cases around this, which Chris is going to talk a little bit more about while I bring up his slides.
Thanks, Eli. One thing as we're loading it up, so just something I was thinking about as a privacy advocate mentioned in the last talk was Google Analytics. If you're forgetting, Google is an advertising-based company, and with all of their value prop, they are selling your information. So if your nonprofit deals with sensitive information, you might want to think about your web analytics platform. For example, there's like Piwik, PIWIK, and there's also Open Web Analytics. They offer the same functionality as Google Analytics, but it's not giving your users information to a foreign government or the American government. So for example, right now, marijuana is illegal at the federal level in the US, and border agents now are asking some Canadians if they don't like you, they'll say, have you ever smoked marijuana? If you say yes, you've broken a federal law and they can reject you. If you say no and they find anything on your social media or through analytics that you've lied, then they can reject you or ban you as well. With that, I'm going to take an ambitious step here, and in 10 minutes I'm going to try and explain Bitcoin, blockchain, and how to actually buy Bitcoin within 10 minutes. So I'm going to talk fast. You probably, again, if you want to take notes, get a pen and paper ready. Here we go. So what is blockchain, and why do people keep talking about it? If you're like me, that was like the hottest topic over the holidays. So here's kind of the trendy hot words. Again, I'll start with the big word slide, and then hopefully we get easier after that. But these are the unique properties of blockchain. So while you're looking at that, basically a blockchain is a double ledger. So if you're in accounting at all it is some address is sending some amount of money to another address. So wherever there's a minus $5, there's a plus $5 that matches it. So that's all a double ledger is. There's a whole bunch of cryptography around it that provides these extra characteristics around the double ledger. Some people call it a distributed ledger. If you want to be a technical purist, I would say it's a replicated ledger because everybody who uses Bitcoin will have a copy of this ledger on their computer. There's a consensus mechanism. So if I follow the blockchain and I fake that I sent Eli $100, all of the other blockchains are going to realize that I faked it. So there's consensus needed. Immutability is probably the coolest word, which means nothing on the blockchain since day one, like 7 or 8 years ago, can be deleted. So if you download the entire blockchain, you get every transaction that's ever existed since day zero, or the origin point. There's also transparency. There's a misnomer that Bitcoin is anonymous. It's one unique hash or address sending to another hash, but all of those transactions are on public record. So as soon as CRA, for example, or the IRS knows that Chris was this address, they can now see anything that money went in or out from that address. And there's a local startup here that just got VC level money called the Blockchain Intelligence Group, and they're working already with RCMP and Department of Homeland Security for telling these governments who owns each of the addresses. So don't think by using blockchain you're anonymous. There are various cryptocurrencies that are anonymous, but Bitcoin is not one of them. So accepting payments for Bitcoin, there's bitpay.com, which is like PayPal, and then there's the more popular one, Coinbase. There's been a whole bunch of things that have happened in the last couple of months. The increase has been so notable that it's no longer cost effective or timely to use Bitcoin. There's a really high price point and a really long delay from using Bitcoin itself. There's a new technology called Lightning.network you can check out. It could change the game if it works, and in the next month or two it's going to go live. But yeah, any of the top 5 currencies can work a lot faster and cheaper than Bitcoin right now. So here's where I'm going to take the ambitious jump into CoinMarketCap. So this is where most crypto people live. So this is where, if you want to learn more about cryptocurrency, this is where you start. Now I recommend, you can stay here, but I usually recommend clicking on this number in the top left, and you're going to notice a different screen once I click on it. And here we go. So these are all of there's currently, 1,300 cryptocurrency tokens. These are by order of market cap. And so all you can do is go down this list and say, which one do I want to learn about today? So for example, I've heard a lot in the news this week about IOTA. So I don't know what IOTA is. I can click on IOTA here, and there's a whole bunch of useful links here. So one of them is to the actual website itself. So of course, if I really want to know about IOTA, I would click on the website and read about it and say, is this a cryptocurrency? It's like, of course it's this flash base, so it's shouldn't be running by default, as I talked about earlier. But the important point is IOTA is actually for Internet of Things devices. So it's not going to be used as a traditional cryptocurrency. So some of these are cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin Cash, but some of them are more platforms, like Ethereum is a platform, for example. If you're interested on the privacy side, Monero is kind of the hot one from my perspective. That's actually anonymous and private. And with any good thing, you get bad, so this is also what the kind of bad people are using. But the important thing here, though, if I want to buy Bitcoin Cash right now, and I want to use it as a cryptocurrency, there's a Markets tab for every one of those. So when you click on the Markets tab, you can see here, these are the different exchanges where you can acquire Bitcoin Cash right now by volume in the last 24 hours. Now, the important part here is what's called trading pairs. So you can, on HIT BTC, you can buy Bitcoin Cash for Bitcoin. Bitcoin's ticker is BTC. So if you don't yet have any cryptocurrency and Bitcoin Cash is the first one you want to go down the trading pairs and look for the first one that's US dollars. So Bitfinex is an exchange that trades Bitcoin Cash for US dollars. So what you would do is go to Bitfinex, create an account, and then you're going to go through the process which is called KYC. So KYC stands for Know Your Customer. So just to kind of bring you back, on CoinMarketCap, you can go into the Markets tab to find an exchange. Once you find an exchange, the long, painful part of cryptocurrency right now is called KYC. And what that is you have to give them your government-issued ID to prove that you're not, say, a money launderer or a terrorist. And so any transactions, especially over $10,000 in Canada or the US, goes to FinTrack or FinCEN, respectively. So before you can actually buy cryptocurrency on any of these exchanges, you're going to have to send them a picture of your passport, as well as likely a picture of you holding your passport and smiling. That process takes about 3 days. So if you're interested in buying cryptocurrency in a week or two, go and create an account on an exchange right now, because by the time you finish KYC, it's probably going to be about a week in. There is a local exchange called QuadrigaCX.com, and they trade Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin. So you can buy any of the 4 of those. But again, it takes about 3 days at least for KYC to complete. And then you want to hook up your bank account typically, which could take up to another 3 days for the money to make it into Quadriga. So once you kind of actually want to play in cryptocurrency, you're probably a week out. So just giving you the heads up now. So contrary to a lot of the news we've heard over the last 5 to 7 years, Bitcoin and blockchain are surprisingly secure. As somebody who has a background in information security, and any software, once it hits the internet, can be hacked. I am surprised it's all hacked considering the amount of money going through blockchain. The Bitcoin and blockchain have not been hacked to this day. Anytime you've heard about it in the news, it's usually an exchange that's been hacked. So almost every exchange, actually every exchange before 2014 was either hacked or allegedly hacked. They are getting better now, but that's the weak point. So starting with Ethereum, it's kind of changed the game that instead of just transferring one amount of cryptocurrency to another amount of cryptocurrency, it's effectively a data block to another data block. And so all these, most of the community is like, wow, what could you put in a data block besides money? That's all we're used to. And so the hot topic right now is smart contracts. So smart contracts are going to start becoming big this year. One of the hot topics is REITs, or real estate, purchasing group real estate, where you can all kind of send your thing to a blockchain. Another hot one right now is what's called provenance, which is following your supply chain. So for example, I know there's a Vancouver startup working on cannabis, where they're saying when you buy your Jack Herrera plant, is it really from that plant, from that grower? And so using provenance of materials, when you buy your milk, for example, do you know which cow it came from on which farm? So provenance is going to be really hot in supply chain context. It also eliminates fraud, it eliminates middle people. The UN is using it. one of the use cases of the UN was they were losing a lot of money in their kind of giving because it was going through so many different hands. And by tying it to the blockchain, they eliminated over 90% of the fraud of the people kind of taking money out. So that's a great use case. And it's also now being used for identity on a blockchain, which is to prevent child trafficking. So there's some really exciting use cases in terms of smart contracts. And so what can your nonprofit do? So I mentioned at the beginning BitPay, which takes Bitcoin, but again, because it's really expensive and slow, and it's also growing so much, nobody really wants to give up their Bitcoin right now, if you have any. And in fact, it's like collect all of them if you can. And but start to get ready to accept other cryptocurrencies. So like Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum. There are people like I know in this community. There's dozens of people in Vancouver who are multi-millionaires just from cryptocurrency in the last 4 years. And so they're now like, hey, I can give back to the community. So if you're pardon?
Or buy a house.
Or buy a house. Yep, if you're excited about real estate in Vancouver. I mean, it's like every $1,000 you put in cryptocurrency in Bitcoin a year ago was $20,000 a year later. So, as much as the real estate prices are good here, it doesn't even come close. One of the things that's also going to be big this year in hot trends is, including here in British Columbia, is groundbreaking. There's a website called firstblock.capital. They've been approved by the BC security regulators to be put in what's called the regulatory sandbox. And what that means, though, is for the first time in North America, Bitcoin can now take institutional investment. So all of the rise we've seen over the past 7 years is from individuals, but starting this year, we're not going to be able to take business investment. So if your nonprofit happens to be sitting on money, some of them are, you can invest. I would say 1 to 5% is typically reasonable for an investment. You can also set up miners to this day. I probably wouldn't compete with the Bitcoin miners, but you can do it for a lot of other cryptocurrencies. So you can buy a fancy computer with 6 to 9 graphics cards that are generating Bitcoin Cash or this kind of thing. And there's nothing called masternodes, but we'll leave it at that. Yeah, I guess that's it. If you have any questions, find me after.
I was listening to a Spark CBC podcast, and they were saying how one of the nonprofits had invited different people just to give their processing power to mine for a charity. So they had some sort of system where they were able to distribute that mining between just people who supported that nonprofit.
Yeah, that's cool. There is a thing, if you want to look up in the mining category, it's called mining pools. So somebody could, if you have a techie that can set up a mining pool where anybody with free graphics processing time can be generating some cryptocurrency that can be given to your nonprofit.
Are we taking questions or no?
I want to, actually, we're running low on time, so if you can join us at the post-event social, we can sort of go into that. Sorry about that. So thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Especially for coming in and doing a double header today. So there we go. Boom, boom, boom. We've learned a lot today, but we're going to stretch your brains some more. So for those who are feeling antsy, you should take a little walk down the street, go about 1.5 blocks to the right to a place called Darby's at 16 West Hastings. And first round of beer is on us here at Net2van Vancouver, thanks to our fabulous sponsors, iAds Payments. Afterwards, of course, you're going to take care of yourself, but we're going to at least start you in so you can continue to have an opportunity to ask our presenters some other questions. If you are not sure how to get there, we will send you with, say, Ashley? Ashley at the back is waving, is going to be our Pied Piper. So about 5 minutes after we wrap, she's going to walk a group of you down there, while the rest of us quick and hang out here for another 15 minutes and do a power clean, and then we'll join you. So that's basically the flow. But before I let you go, I know this room is full of interesting people, and I want to give you a chance to show off. So if you are looking to hire someone, looking for a job, got a cool new project you're working on, have a website you want to show off because you are very proud of it, this is your opportunity. I'm going to be the jerk with the timer, giving you 60 seconds maximum. If you are interested, I want you to come up to the front here, take one of these chairs, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. It's super fun. It's going to look a little bit like this. Hi, my name's Eli. That's the intro part. I'm from Net2van Vancouver, because you tell people where you're from. And then you say, we're always looking for new event producers. There's lots of cool topics out there, but we don't know all of them. So if you have a topic that you think would be really important to bring to this community, and maybe you know a great presenter who could be part of that, come talk to us, because we're starting to schedule in people who can be guest presenters in the latter half of the year. That's my example of it. I know we've got other people here from meetups who maybe want to talk a little bit more about some of what they're doing. So why don't you come up here and then follow my great model where you introduce yourself and then you talk about the cool thing that you're doing.
Guess I'm the only one. No, there's not my
More people are coming.
Leah, Stratcom, but also I help coordinate a community called Civic Tech Vancouver, which I feel like might be relevant for lots of folks in this room. So we're a collection of designers, developers, policymakers, politicos, who all care about civic issues but want to address them and understand them better through a technology angle. So our next meetup is actually going to be on the 16th, so this coming Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. at Hootsuite. If you Google Civic Tech Vancouver, meetup.com, it should be the first thing that comes up. So yeah, we'd love to see you. If you're looking for support on a project, then come on out. We have lots of talent who are willing to, give time and projects, or time and effort. And also, if you just want to learn more overall or meet people who are interested in civic issues through tech, come along as well.
Cool, thank you. Come on up. See, it's not frightening. This is going to work out great. If you're interested, come on up. We'll queue people up. Go for it.
Wow, big lineup. I'll let people have a seat. All right, my name is Net2van. I'm involved with a few different things. One of the main projects that I'm currently working on, it's called Assist List. We're trying to make basically a Craigslist for medical home equipment. The person who founded it is an occupational therapist himself, and he noticed that there's a lot of medical equipment, there's no resale that happens on it. And a lot, usually when a person, considering there's an ambulance going by, equipment gets collected and eventually a person maybe passes away or gets better and doesn't need it anymore, it usually goes to garbage. So we're trying to make a site that allows for that entire thing to happen. This right now is just our basic page, just with some information saying that we're going to be launching soon. We have a team of about 9 people, developers, and pitch over here is we're looking for some volunteers. The Google Analytics and how to do the campaign and the marketing side, that's one very interesting component. We have one person on the marketing, but I would like to get some more help on doing that component. Apart from that, we're doing a Ruby on Rails stack, and would like to have some help either as a consultant for 1 or 2 days, one to do performance tuning for Postgres databases, and other would be automation testing and release workflow for the website so that we can do UCSD. I'm forgetting the acronym. Well, we can do automated releases. Yeah, that's
cool.
About it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Awesome. Going next up, thank you.
Hi, my name is Max Carpendale. I run a meetup group in the city called Vancouver Effective Altruism. We have a Facebook group and a meetup group as well. The Facebook group is probably the best way to go for that. It's an international movement called Effective Altruism again, and it's about trying to do as much good in the world as possible. And so it's kind of a diverse movement. People are interested in things like studying which interventions work best for alleviating people with poverty, studying which interventions work best for getting people involved in animal welfare, and other more speculative things like thinking about the threat from artificial superintelligence. So a diversity of different things. If you're interested, we're running a meetup group, and yeah, get involved and talk to me after if you're interested.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Claire. I'm with Women in Blockchain Vancouver. We're setting up, and Chris had some information about blockchain. If you'd like to find out more, we're having regular meetups every month. The next one we have a social on the 24th. It's not actually up there yet. It should be up
So many meetup organizers are here. Fun.
It's the first one right there, Blockchain Vancouver. So we have an intro going on the 29th. I believe that's the one that should be up there right now. So why it's important, how it works, key applications if you want to learn a bit more about it still. And then we also have a social going on the 24th. It's not up here yet, but It's going to be here in the building at Launch Academy. So,
Fabulous. Well, thank you.
Hi, I'm Andrew. I've literally just moved to Vancouver about 2 weeks ago, so I don't do any meetups or anything like that, but basically I'm just looking to meet people in the city, get to know people, and I'm involved in quite a lot of networking chain things back home. So I'm basically looking to, if people want to connect on LinkedIn, look me up. If you want to meet for coffee, throw around ideas. I put together sort of learning management systems and do organizational development, but I just love throwing around ideas with people, and I'll definitely be talking to Eli about getting involved with Net2van, because I'm involved with networking groups back in London. I love doing it, basically. And so, yeah, if anyone wants to hang out, meet up for coffee, look me up on LinkedIn and give me a shout.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew.
Hi, I'm Mansoor. This is my first time coming to this meetup.
Welcome, welcome.
So I do a couple things. One of them is Global DCX because it touches on crypto and advertising, the hyper-targeting, and video creation. So I work in advertising, so I implement a lot of these different things, but Global DCX is an exchange platform that we're launching in the next 10 days, so feel free to check it out. And on the nonprofit side, I work with Daraja Foundations. We work with maternal health care programs in Africa, and we run an orphanage.
And how do I spell that?
D-A-R.
Got it, found it. Thank you, Google. Perfect.
Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm a volunteer with Net2van.
Woo!
Since this seems to be the day where we all pitch our meetups, the other meetup group that I'm involved with is the Vancouver Nerdy Ladies Club. We do really fun things like go do music bingo, and we meet for coffee and tea, and we compare notes on books that we're reading, and we sit in libraries and work on our creative writing projects together. So it's really fun if you're looking to make new friends. Everybody's really nice.
How did I even know about this? You're secret. But I know ladies who I can refer. Point taken.
Hi guys, I'm Brian. Come from Singapore actually, first time here in Vancouver, Canada. I living in a 4-hour work week right now through a website I built called sageanimation.com. Turns out my client didn't fire me and I'm getting more clients. So if you guys are looking to live the 4-hour work week or want to know more about that, you can come to me. I have a YouTube channel and a podcast under the name Brian and Victor, Brian for Y. And the animation business is called Sage Animation. So right now I'm looking for the next thing to do. So if you guys have any cool ideas or any organizing principles that's correct.
That's one of you.
That's one of me, yes. Right, perfect. That's about it. So you guys have any ideas or next thing to do, have a big turning point in life where you have more time than you should have, and have any ideas for me, please come my way.
Yeah. Well, thank you and welcome to Vancouver. Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Victoria, and I'm a volunteer with the Association of Fundraising Professionals. So if there are fundraisers in the room, I sit on the Professional Development Committee, so we organize breakfast workshops and minglers.
And how early are those breakfast workshops?
They're really early. They're at 7 a.m., but it's so worth it. It's like you go, you get some professional development, and then you go to work, you're feeling energized. So we have a workshop coming up on January 18th. It's about evaluating your fundraising programs. So, as we're looking at our fundraising programs for the year ahead, it's going to be a really great session. We also have a mingler that's coming up on February 20th. It's all about donor love and stewardship, and so how that relates to technology is, I'm sure, we're producing lots of, videos, and we're trying to engage our donors in different ways using different platforms. And so we want to do a showcase. So if there's any really great stewardship that you're doing in your nonprofits, we'd love to showcase it at our mingler, and the minglers are free. So I will be at the social later this evening. So if you're interested in just learning more about AFP, come and chat with me.
Yeah. Here we go, final one. Chris, you got to wrap it up a second time.
I'm not too sick of me yet. I got two things I want to throw. One is ideasmeetings.org. So on Monday nights, every Monday, I've been doing it for 10 years, 7 years in Victoria, 3 years here. Andrew, you're going to like it because all we do is talk about ideas every Monday night for 3 hours. people pitch whatever idea you had this week, and we don't criticize each other's ideas. We just try and help each other make our ideas happen. There was a really interesting thread for about an hour and a half yesterday on social anxiety that we have in Vancouver and how we can work together on solving it. So everybody's welcome to that. It's free. And the other one, the last one, is awesomeshitclub.com. So this is like a mini Dragon's Den I've run. I ran it many times in Victoria to much success. I've only run it here once in Vancouver. And the problem is people don't believe that I'm giving away free money. So what I'm looking for is help. It's volunteer run. But I get a bunch of my friends who put $50 in a pot until it gets at least $500. It usually ends up well over $1,000. And then we have like a mini Dragon's Den style event where anybody can pitch their awesome shit. And the judges, what we call awesomeites, they'll go thumbs up or thumbs down for each idea. Whoever gets the most, actually, can you scroll up to see the logo? Because it's the best logo of all time. But the awesome thing is we give the cash to the winner, no strings attached. So I'm just trying to get some marketing help to say, hey, trust this thing is real. We give away lots of cash, and there's no, I'm just trying to solve the trust problem. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm Gillian. I've been to both Chris's things in Victoria when they started out as Idea Meetups and Awesome Shit Club, which is pretty awesome. I'm with the Open Data Society at BC, and International Open Data Day is going to be on March 3rd. Between now and then, I'm going to focus on 1, getting over this horrible cold, and 2, actually planning and implementing that hackathon. So March 3rd, if you love civic tech, if you love making a difference, if you love making awesome shit, you should probably come.
Awesome. Thank you. See? So much interesting going on. So, here's the deal. If you have any dishes or garbage, if you can just like wander it over to the kitchen counter, that would be super helpful for us, and we will take care of it from there. Otherwise, you're going to hang out with our friend Ashley, who is leaving here in 5 short minutes. She's going to walk you down to Darcy's. You guys are going to have a fabulous time, and then we're going to wander back. I need 4 people who want to hang out with me, and you're on chair duty. I see Chad. I see hand number 1. I see Dorothy. I see Morris. Excellent. Good. I've got 5 people. The rest of you, I want you out of here. You're going to get in the way. But the rest of you, thank you so much for joining me on chair duty, and we'll see you next month.